We've partnered up with multi-percussionist Will Fry to create an instrument that gives users the ability to access a vast range of different percussion options. With Will's incredible collection of percussion, we recorded using top-class microphone chains, and have designed the instrument to be easy to use with a host of creative parameters, useful for both studio and live performances. The instrument is based on 8 percussion voices. Each voice can be changed to any of the different sounds available, of which there are hundreds. There are also tweakable parameters for each voice too. Once you open the instrument, it's worth getting accustomed with the Help Overlay button on the bottom left. This will show you the basic controls of the instrument. We'll go through these in more detail in this tutorial. The voice slots are linked to Midi, with default mapping set to C1 to C2 on the highlighted blue keys. Midi assignment can be changed to any key, and each voice is velocity sensitive. You can program using a DAW, controller, or a Midi keyboard. Let's have a look at how you can change the sounds of each slot. As you click on each slot, the upper section of the GUI will display the slot controls for that particular voice. Slot controls have a range of parameters that can be applied, such as distortion, reverb, tuning, and so on. To change the percussion assigned to any of the voices, click on the text in yellow at the top left. This will bring you to the instrument selection window, which has sub-menu options for the type of percussion you would like to use. Some of these groups also have different articulations and variances of that percussion too. Now let's have a look at performance controls. These are the 6 coloured buttons below each slot. The first control is Release Trigger. This will cause a second percussion hit once you have released the Midi for that voice. This is great for faster patterns with instruments such as shakers and tambourines. Mute groups. The 4 red buttons work as mute groups. Any instrument assigned to a mute group will immediately cut off any other instrument that is playing. For example, if a triangle was ringing out and you hit a tambourine a part of the same mute group, this would cut the triangle off. This function can also be used to add realism to your performance, like when playing a damped surdo hit would mute a ringing hit. The mute group assignment works horizontally. So if multiple slots have the first red button enabled, this means they are part of the same group. The same goes for the second, third, and 4th slot too. I'm now going to load up different articulations of the surdo to show the mute groups. The final performance control is the Midi note assign. This allows you to move the note for any slot to another point on the Midi keyboard. Multiple slots can also share the same Midi note. For example, I have now moved the note that was assigned to slot 1 to E2. To do this, turn on Midi note assign. Then click with your mouse or Midi controller on the key you would like to move your voice to. Next is slot controls. Each voice has individual parameters for its own slot controls, which can be seen on the top half of the GUI. As you click on the different voices, the slot parameters will change to correspond to the settings for that voice. Close mic. This sets the volume of the close mic percussion recording. Room mic volume. This sets the volume of the room mic percussion recording. Pan lets you position the voice left or right. Tuning lets you control the pitch of that voice. This parameter lets you go up to 36 semitones, higher or lower in pitch. Distortion. This parameter adds more distortion the further clockwise the dial is turned. Transients. This increases or decreases the transient of the voice. To the right of the dial increases the transient, and turning the dial to the left reduces the sustain of that voice. Tape vibe. This adds a tape saturation and colour to the voice. This will also soften the sound of the percussion. Cabinet. This emulates the sound of a cabinet speaker, allowing you to add a guitar amp-like character to your voice. Reverb and delay controls. These work as sends to the global reverb and delay parameters. These dials will control how much of the voice will be sent to that effect. Global effects will be covered in the following section of the video. Filter. Turn clockwise for a high-pass filter and anti-clockwise for a low-pass. These are smooth, gentle filters. Tilt. Turn to the left for a fatter, more low-focus tone, and turn to the right for a more cutting tone. Link buttons. Enabling a link button will make that parameter global across all slots. This makes it easy to adjust a single control across all voices. To enable this feature, click on the red button above any of the parameters. For example, I will now increase the reverb across all voices with the link button enabled. There is also a link button for the close mic volume and room mic volume controls. This is found in between the two dials. This can be set either to relative or equaled. Relative means the parameters will move to the same amount, but in their current position. Equaled will snap the two parameters to be in the same position. For example, now, let's go over the global effect settings in this instrument. First, let's cover the additional reverb parameters. As stated previously, use the slot parameter to set how much reverb you'd like to apply to your voice. You can adjust the global reverb type by clicking on the red arrow over here. Clicking the arrow will bring you to a drop-down list of the different reverbs available. They are very diverse and can be further tweaked in the global effects settings. The text in red will let you know what type of reverb is currently applied. Once in the global effects settings page, there are parameters for length and pre-delay. Length adjusts the reverb time, and pre-delay sets how long of a delay there will be between the dry signal and the reverb. In the global effects page, there are also parameters for time and feedback for the global delay. On the advanced settings page, there is also a powerful compressor. This has parameters for threshold, ratio, attack, release, and output. There is also an equalizer that has 4 fixed parameters for low, low mid, and high. The EQ has a brighten button too. This runs the instrument through an IR of a 2-band tube EQ. There is also a built-in global saturation effect. This can be really effective to smash all the sounds together. Distortion. This applies a distortion effect to the global signal path. Great if you want to make the sounds a bit nasty. Main volume. This simply controls the master volume of the instrument. Reset Global Effects returns all controls on this page to their default value and inactive state. There is another powerful global effect setting. This is the Effects Intensifier, which can be found on the main page. This will increase the intensity of any effects applied, including individual and global effects. For example, turning this dial will increase the intensity of the reverb and tape vibe applied to voice 6. Now I will turn the dial and increase the effect's intensity. If you were to add any EQ or compression to the instrument, this parameter would make more of those things happen. This is great as a live tool to make quick changes to your sound. Now let's look at the preset manager. To load a preset, click on the Preset Manager tab, and then choose a preset from one of the saved groups. Double-click to load it. There is an array of options to choose from. This is one of the natural kits. A preset of bucket percussion. A selection of Congas. A Repanike preset. Some shakers. One of our natural kits. And an experimental one. Another cool feature is the Load Processing Only button. This means you can experiment with different effect combinations without changing your instrument selection. This will copy the processing from other presets and apply them to your current voices. I'm going to load up a natural kit, as this will have less effects on it, so it will be easier to hear the contrast once the load processing is on. To use this feature, click on the Load Processing Only button, then load a preset as normal. Once the text is lit, this means you can load the effect settings of a preset without its samples. As you can see, the percussion has been kept the same, but the processing and effects has been copied over. This is a great way to vary the tones and textures of your sounds. To turn off load processing only, click on it again, and the text will no longer be highlighted. To save your own presets, click on the Save Preset button. The preset you have just saved can then be found in the user folder once the instrument is reloaded. Velocity Manager. This is great for drum programming or interfacing with electric kits. Each column corresponds to the voices of the instrument, so 1 would control the velocity settings for voice 1. The low parameter will set the minimum input velocity of the selected channel. For example, I've just set the minimum velocity input to 82 on channel 1. So any velocity that is now inputted below 82 would now be played at 82 anyway. The curve shaper will shape the incoming velocity, so it is easier to play a louder note when set to a positive value, and easier to play a quieter note for negative values. Incoming velocity will be biased towards quieter notes in an exponential fashion. The high parameter works in a similar way to low. This will set the highest velocity for this channel. For example, I have now set the highest maximum velocity for channel 1 to 82. If the input of the velocity is now higher than 82, this channel's velocity will play at 82 regardless. Link controls lets you move all of the low, high, or curve parameters together. There is also a reset control button to get back to where you originally started. Advanced settings. Mouse response. This controls how fast the knobs and faders move. Finer is a slower mouse response, and coarse is a more sensitive response, so you move the mouse less. Loop behavior. This is designed to help drum pad users get the most out of their looping percussion. Gate will activate a loop for as long as a key is being held. Once you release your key, the loop will no longer continue. Padlock will trigger a loop once the key has been hit. To stop it, press the same Midi key again. I'm now going to load up a loop to show you. Currently, the loop behavior is on gate mode. I will now change this to padlock. This means pressing the key once will activate the loop, and to stop the loop, press the same Midi key again. I have now pressed the Midi key once. I'm now going to press it again to stop it. By increasing padlock time, this will increase the fade out time for the padlock release. I'll press the release key now. MIDI mapping options. This changes the MIDI note assignments of your voices. Default will put all voice assignments back to default position. And there are also options to move the MIDI assignment up or down 1 octave. Volume linking was covered earlier in relation to the room and close mic controls. Round robins. When suspenders active, round robins are no longer active. This is useful for more robotic/electronic programming styles. This button will reset the global effects intensifier when the instrument is reopened. Utility. This is a selection of controls to clear mute groups, clear release buttons, and clear the link buttons. Thanks for watching, everyone. This instrument is now available at www.raw.com. This is an additional section of the tutorial to go over the different percussion groups in this instrument. Blocks. We recorded 24 of Will Fry's blocks and claves. These are great for accents, traditional clave playing, and tuned effects. The block materials include rosewood, metal, and wood, to name a few. Cabassa. Cabassa is constructed of loops made of steel ball chains, wrapped around a corrugated metal cylinder. They're great for short punctuations and rapidly tapping patterns. There are 9 different cabassas in this library, with twist and tap articulations. Kashishi are small baskets filled with seeds and grains. There are 27 different kashishi, and a choice between shake and accent articulations. A cowbell is a type of hand percussion. These are subdivided into simple and complex bells. Simple bells offer one contact type, whereas complex has hit points for mouth, neck, and side. Effects. This is a broad group of 29 single percussion hits and 21 loops. These are designed for both ambient textures to sporadic accents. There are also some additional controls in the advanced section of the instrument for the looped percussion effects. This was covered earlier in the video. Hand drums. This is a larger subgroup, as there are 7 different types of hand drums in the instrument. Within each type of hand drum, there are different articulations and variances to experiment with too. Repenique. This is a 2-headed Brazilian drum, tuned high and made of thin metal. We have included 5 different articulations, with 2 different tunings to choose from. To access the other tunings, use the next and previous buttons to scroll through the sample library. Surdo, a large Brazilian double-headed bass drum. We've included 2 here, and multiple articulations of both. Cajon. A wooden box, often with adjustable snare-type wires against the front head, and a resonance hole at the back. We've included bass, open and slap articulations for both snare on and off. Timbal. This is a slightly conical, long Brazilian hand drum, often used in axe and samba reggae. It's got a cutting, resonant sound, and we've included bass, open and slap articulations. Conga. These are like thin, almost full-sized congas, with a wooden skin and a cajon-like snare mechanism. They produce a very distinctive thin but musical sound. We've included bass, open and slap articulations for loosened, medium, tight and cranked snares. Caixa. This is a thin, metal Brazilian snare drum with a throaty, aggressive sound. We've included centre hit, rim and side hit articulations. Bucket. An unusual shaker made of thin metal with shaker rings embedded. We've included side hit, open hit, multiple slaps and shake articulations. Shakers. There are 17 shakers in this library, painstakingly chosen from Will's enormous collection. We wanted to cover a range of complementary, musical and useful sounds. Tambourines. The tambourine is a common percussion instrument, often looks like a small hand drum with metal rings on the outside. We chose 17 different tambourines, recording the backwards and forward shake of the instrument too. There are options for both shake and accented hits. Triangle. A triangle is a metal bar, bent into a triangle shape. We have included 6 triangles here, with muted and open articulations. No voice means you're selecting no percussion for that slot. Thanks for watching. That's the end of the appendix.